Hello guys, this is Irene and this is Harry Lifestyle. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a very special video that I'm bringing to you. I'll be hanging out with a friend of mine. This friend of mine, I've known her since we were in campus. She has an amazing story that will challenge us and, make us just happy to talk to her and learn from her. This lady going through the unthinkable. She lost her husband after several years in marriage. She's just going to take some time and walk us through what her journey has been like from going through the unthinkable until today, where she's living her life and learning to enjoy her life and raise her family. So, karibu sana.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My name is Catherine. I am in my 40s, early 40s.
Yeah.
I am a widow. I have been a widow now for 5.5 years, almost.
5.5 years, okay.
About 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I was married with 2 children. So after he died, it's just me and my 2 children now.
Okay.
Yes.
You're also now in YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel together with my niece.
Mm-hmm.
It's called I Am Every Woman, and it's really just about women issues and everything you are as a woman.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've known your story for a really long time
Mm-hmm.
because we've been friends on Facebook and you've shared your story. You've not even been shy to share your story. But I also watched what you posted on your YouTube channel where you went through the whole story, and we're going to be linking that video because it gives a lot of, more details.
Yeah.
And so everyone who's watching, make sure you go and watch that video because it will just give you a lot more details. And that is why I wanted to sit down with you. I had so many questions. I had so many things I wanted to talk to you about. From what you shared, you shared so much. And still, as a mother and someone who's married, Bado, I had so many questions. So, introduce us and let us know how did you guys meet and all that,
Okay. Well, I met my late husband in university. We went to the
together.
We went to the same university.
In KU.
The irony is that we were not even friends with him in university, but we did have some mutual friends who were very close to me and very close to him. But me and him were not necessarily close. But then eventually, in young adulthood, when we were on our first jobs, we moved into the same apartment block. So we were neighbours.
So you guys didn't link up in campus?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. So we were neighbours in an apartment block. And so the fact that we knew each other, so we would hang out. And then I was in between jobs trying this, when you're young, writing proposals and stuff. So I used to ask him, can you do this for me? And he was very modest, humorous. He would say, let's see, I'll try. But it turns out that was his day job. So he was really good at it. So I was very impressed. And so he did a lot of work for me. And so we ended up spending so much time together. We didn't know how it morphed into something more serious. Yes.
And something beautiful.
And something beautiful came out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys got married. And then that's when you moved out of the country.
So we dated seriously, obviously. And then at one point it was Valentine's Day. And so we're asking each other, so what are you doing on Valentine's? I think we knew something was brewing, but we just hadn't put a name to it.
Okay.
So on Valentine's Day, we had to hang out and decide, now, are we going out? Are we serious? And so we were serious. And about a year after that, we got married. And as soon as we got married, I think a month after the wedding, he got a job in Tanzania. So he went, and a few months later, I followed.
You joined him?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys stayed in TZ, you were working there.
Yes.
You also got a job and you were working there?
Yes.
Okay. And then you had your babies?
I got 2 children. And then when the youngest was just about to turn 1, he got into a car crash and he died on the spot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That must have been really, really tough.
It was really tough.
Especially the fact that it was sudden. It's not like he was unwell or anything like that.
Well, when you lose a loved one, even if they're sick and they die, even if you knew they would die, it's still
even
tough.
Even when they're old, even when you lose your grandparents, it's still tough. It's still tough.
But it is tougher when it is an accident. Because 1 minute you're talking to someone, literally, and the next minute the person is gone.
There.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you take it? How did you process it?
Wow, that's a tough question. I don't know. How do you process it? It's
in your other video, which, as we're encouraging guys to go watch it, you said that you literally grieved when you're in the car and you saw his car, and it's like you just, it all came out at that one point.
So at that point, I didn't even know that he was dead, but I saw his car. And you inside, you know, but it's not confirmed,
and you're hoping it's not what you think it is.
You're not thinking much. You don't know what there's a lot of emotions going on, and mostly it's shock. I think it's mostly shock, and I remember telling myself to breathe, just breathe. And it was all I could think about at that time. And I did do my grieving in that moment, because when I saw the car, I knew that whatever has happened is not a good thing. Whatever it is, I'm in for a really bumpy ride. So in the beginning, it is almost entirely just shock, pure shock.
How were the kids? Were they at a place where they could understand? I mean, just take us through it. How do you even tell this to these little children?
So my oldest was 4.5, and the young one had not turned 1. So there was nothing to tell her. The 4.5-year-old also is quite young. So in the beginning, I haven't said much to him, because I haven't said much to myself anyway at that point. But I do remember at some point when we went for the funeral, because we went to bury him where he comes from, and I think my oldest at some point was wondering, so where's Daddy anyway? We are at Daddy's. Where is Daddy? And at one point he was fussy, and I was trying to calm him down, and he just shouted, "I want Daddy!" And there was silence.
Everyone is wondering.
Everybody was
how do you deal with that?
Shocked, and nobody knew what to say. Not even I knew what to say. We didn't say anything. So in the beginning, I didn't say anything. I didn't let them view the body. I know people have different angles to this, but I didn't think it was prudent. It's not. His body was not like completely disfigured, but I just was not in a position to process and to wonder what will happen if they see the body. So they didn't, but they were seeing the photos and everything. But when we came back from that, after a lot of consultations with other widows and widow groups, and they really encouraged to talk about it especially with the older child. So I started bringing it out. And this boy had gone to a new school, and he was at a stage where boys are talking about, my dad can do this. My dad is this, and my dad is that.
My dad is a hero. He can do everything.
Yes, and that was terrible. And he came home and told me, Mommy, Dad is in the office, right? Dad is in the office. And it's like he really wanted me to
say
confirm that Dad is in the office. Back. And I had to now sit him down and say, Dad is not in the office. Daddy died. And I took him to the office, and I had him see Daddy's desk, that it's empty. Dad is not there. He's dead. And so I explained to him that he went to heaven. And in my mind at the time, I thought, if I make heaven look like a nice place, then he will not worry about his daddy. So I said, he's an angel now, and he can fly. And but so I thought I was doing the right thing, but it turned out he was going through some troubles emotionally. I couldn't tell if it was just growing up or if it also had a daddy angle.
Is this years later or just
months later?
Months later,
yeah,
just
within
months.
the year.
So he's
within
like
the year
5
after.
now.
Yeah. And so one time he just came in and told me, and that's when I figured out what the issue was. He came in and said, "Mommy, I also want to go to heaven."
Wow.
Yeah, and I.
Oh my goodness.
I know, and I said, "No." And he said, "Why not? Heaven is a nice place."
And that's where my daddy is.
Yeah, and I said, "No, Daddy didn't want to go to heaven. I don't want you to go to heaven." And he said, "Daddy didn't want to go to heaven?" And I said, "No." And, I could see the questions in his face. And I said, "Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to stay here." And I said, "Daddy wanted to stay with us. Even if he would have gone to heaven some other time, he didn't want to go that soon." And my son was completely shocked. Who would imagine that is what is going on in the mind of a child? Yeah. He was completely shocked. And he kept repeating, "Daddy wanted to stay with us. He didn't want to go to heaven." No. Because I think I'd painted such a beautiful picture. He thought Daddy decided to go to this beautiful place and left us. So he was wondering, why didn't Daddy take us with him? So I explained to him, and I think it really bothered him because he repeated it a lot. He told everybody he could who was listening to him that my daddy went to heaven, but he didn't want to go to heaven. He wanted to stay with. And believe it or not, he got better. His discipline issues just sort of died down because I think for him, the betrayal he was feeling at daddy having left us.
He left us.
Exactly.
He went to a beautiful place, a nice place, but he left us.
Yes, but now that we demystified it,
it's no longer like he chose.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the biggest lesson for me there was that for a widow, talk to the children. 1, talk to them. 2, allow them to talk. Give them a safe space where they can say anything. No matter what emotion they're feeling, they should be able to say it. Because I can bet you money, they will say something you had not thought of. Which is bothering them, which is something you can solve easily. If you don't solve it now, it will manifest into some other crazier thing later, and you won't even be able to make the connection.
What I'm hearing you say, and we are told this about parenting, that when we are raising children is to tell them the truth. In a way they can understand. So even as you're talking to them about this, you need to tell them the truth. Yes, and sometimes it's very difficult because once they understand the permanence of death and that it can happen to anyone, and then their mortality, everybody's mortality comes to the surface, which is a process I went through myself. And so sometimes they are very uncomfortable. It's very sticky, and sometimes they're saying, "Mommy, I don't want you to die," or "I don't want someone else to die." You see? So a child who has gone through that kind of loss, you must take them through it. And you avoiding it makes it worse. It makes it worse. So my message to them is very clear. Yes, I could die. You could die. Someone else could die. There is 100% chance if you're alive that you're going to die. It is what it is. However, why are we thinking about death? Let's do a fun thing. Let's enjoy what we have now. Okay. So now that you are in TZ and I'm thinking you're not in your natural environment, how was that like? How were you able to cope? Did you have support system? How did the guys who are with you there, maybe workmates and all that, what kind of support system did you find there?
The interesting thing about grief, and I don't know if that works for everybody else, but for me, I really wanted to go back to my new normal.
Okay.
I needed to create my new normal. And in that way, I actually shut people out. And that happens to a lot of people because you don't want something that is temporary. Nobody can replace what you had, no matter what their intentions are. Their hearts are in the right place, but it's going to come temporarily and then it's going to go away. And that's not what you want. So you want to create for yourself and for your children something that is permanent, that is fast grounded. Because when you lose a spouse, I might have said this before, it's not like a rug was pulled from under your feet. It's a proper. Everything is broken.
Crashed.
Exactly. So you need to put the pieces back together slowly and find your ground first. And then from there you can see how, from this point, I can start relating with the rest of the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the support system was good. How did you deal with now bringing him back to Kenya for funeral, burial?
Oh, that's what you're talking
That's
about.
what I'm talking about.
So his company took on everything pretty much.
Yeah.
The 3 days that we were in Tanzania, they covered every little thing. They covered our transport, my family and I, his body all the way to Kakamega. So that was amazing. That was truly, truly amazing. Just one less thing to think, well, several less things to think about. The neighbors were great. Tanzanians are very humane people. They have a strong sense of community. So they took up everything. Literally, my neighbor would walk in, pick dirty clothes, go wash and iron and bring them back just to support. Tanzanians also have this lovely culture of giving kangas and lesos. So they would come in, I don't even know them, but they would come in and give me a kanga, kitenge, just as a pole of sorts, I think. So that felt really nice.
That felt good.
Yeah.
All right. So now, after the funeral, I'm just thinking, how then do you adjust to financially and everything from especially that must be a huge thing, that you are together, you are sharing responsibilities, you're both, like earning, bringing home something to the point where now you're alone and you have to take care of your children, take care of yourself, take care of their needs. Did you feel you needed to downgrade things or that kind of thing?
In the beginning, people raise money, you have money from here and from there. In the beginning, it's not so bad, which is a blessing, really, because at that point, you're dealing with so much anyway. And then eventually, the money runs out because there's no source. It's just going.
Yeah.
The money runs out.
Yeah.
And that now starts the reality, the financial reality now starts coming down. And yes, you are forced most of the times, maybe not for everyone, but for me, I did have to downgrade. And I would say I was single for quite a while before I got married.
Yeah.
I think that really helped me.
Helped you to be independent.
It really helped me, yes, because I know how that life works. Except now I had dependents.
Yeah.
But I did just sort of go back to how I used to do things by myself. Of course, there were a lot of things that had changed in the marriage. My outlook on things, some things I carried on, but others I really just borrowed from my life way back.
Yeah.
There's a lot of adjustments to do, and this can be a very, very sticky time for a widow.
Yeah.
And it normally, a lot of times it comes towards the second year, The first year, emotions everywhere, up and down, blah, blah, blah. The second year is the worst. Yeah, it's the worst, all-time worst. Yeah.
Why?
Because people think you're getting stronger and better,
now.
so they're no longer
and everyone has left.
reaching out. People have left. And then the reality sinks in at that point that you're alone. Small things like even just insurance, car insurance.
Yeah. It can
Maybe
lapse after
that was
1 year,
his thing
6
to
months.
do.
Yeah.
Now it has lapsed.
Yeah.
And now you're thinking, oh my God,
Yeah.
what do we do? Who do we talk to? How do we do this? What do we pay?
Yeah.
What is this? These are things you never bothered with.
About.
This is now comes to a point where you need to travel, and now you're traveling by yourself. And oh my God, I need to get papers for the nanny. I have to think about papers for the nanny. I have to think about servicing the car. I have to think about insurance for the car, traveling insurance. Have to think about the tires. Are they okay? Has the car, fuel? Has it been serviced? Then I have to think about my children and clothes and food and food on the journey. And then where we're going, where we're going to sleep. And all of that falls on you. And if you drop the ball, you drop the ball. So you start planning like a week before, put the passport, put this, put that. And then when you're leaving, on the morning that you're leaving, how are you leaving the house? Lock, lights, talk to the neighbor, the cat. And it dawns on you at that point that
mom, everything
is on you. And you slept late packing and sorting out the children. And normally you used to sleep late parking because you're not the one driving.
Yeah, you're not the one driving.
Now you're
not
the one driving.
sorting out the car. You're not making sure it's fuel,
Exactly.
it's service.
So you sleep late parking and you still wake up at 4, and that's you driving.
Yeah.
So those realities
Really set in.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was just asking myself, you know, many of us don't imagine that this can happen to us. And so we as much as we are told, prepare for these eventualities, these things could happen to you. And we just, I think we just don't think it could happen. So like, I'm assuming maybe you were not prepared, but now, did you have to deal with things like property, you know, anything of those things that we were told to prepare, maybe things that were in his name or were not yet, you know, they're just hanging, but now you have to follow up legal matters now that he's not here to do that, especially things to do with property. Yeah.
That is the biggest monster in the room, I can tell you. And I have talked about this, some of my widow friends have talked about this. I just need to say one thing before I even explain anything. This has to be done. If you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to talk about it. You have to talk about ownership. You have to talk about the names.
You're telling us as couples that we need to deal with these things.
Yes, and I'm talking to wives and I'm talking to husbands as well.
Yeah.
You really have to talk about it. You have to know, if you have life covers, who is the beneficiary, who's listed as the beneficiary.
Yeah.
If you have property, what are the names there? Talk to a lawyer. How are the names put in? What are the terms of ownership? What happens? What happens if one person leaves? Do you get a percentage or do you get the property? Those are very important things. Now, I'm just going to say, I'm going to repeat that as long as you were born, you are going to die.
You're going to die.
That's is just reality. Something that you have to accept it.
Yeah.
Accepting it will not make you die. You will only die the day you are meant to die.
We all feel like if I write a will,
that you're going to die.
I'm calling death.
It is so not true.
Yeah.
You will die the day you're supposed to die. No matter what you do, you will die the day you're supposed to die.
Yeah.
Take care of your loved ones. Take care of the people you're leaving behind. You know? Let your loved ones take care of you. Take care of each other. So get your stuff straight. Get your name straight. I would say the only time I would have you think about death is that time. Because it is a reality and you're not wishing death on anyone by thinking about it.
Yeah.
Sort out your paperwork. Sort out your details. Then from there, don't think about death. Ever. Forget it.
But you know you've sorted out your paperwork.
If it were to happen.
Because it can get really dicey and legal matters and even proving some things can get.
And in my younger days when I used to see cases of widows fighting for property and things, and I used to tell myself, why are they bothering? Just live your life, go get property for yourself.
Can get something else
along the way. It's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. At that point, you yourself are completely compromised because you've lost a spouse. You have yourself to deal with to begin with. And then secondly, you have dependents looking at you. Don't also forget, this is a life you made two people. This is a challenge to all the Christians out there, especially to mothers of sons. This to me is a challenge because if you go to church, if you're a Christian, it says, two shall become one. It doesn't add other people. It says two shall become one. Right? Yeah. Now, once they have set up their marriage, they're doing their things. Where do you get off? Who are you here? Where do you get off? I don't get it. Unless you're coming in to help. You cannot be coming in saying, unajua, mtoto wetu. Listen, this person went and made another family. It doesn't make any sense. This person left children. If you really see this person as your child, and you see this person as a person who was helping the home, and you own this person in that way, then own everything this person had as well.
It's a good point.
That is how it makes sense. If you feel honestly that you are entitled to something this person owned, right? Or you're entitled to what this person was making, please take also his responsibilities. Those go together. Yeah. But you cannot. It doesn't make any sense. This is also a challenge, especially to husbands. And I'm just going to call it as it is.
Yeah.
When you put other beneficiaries other than your wife, and you have left children, you side yourself, and you put a beneficiary other than your wife, what are you saying? What are you suggesting? Are your children more belonging to her than to you? Is that what you're saying? You see?
I'm just wondering, do people do this deliberately because they that's what they want? I mean, just in the name of, these things won't happen. You know, like when you're just feeling papers and you just feel...
I think it's inspired by a lot of things. The fact that two people who are strangers come together and get married, there can be trust issues. I get why there can be trust issues.
Yeah.
But if you don't trust this person with property, but you trust them with your children, you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
You see? And then there's also the assumption that all the property belongs to the man. I think it's a very false assumption in this day and age.
Yeah.
I mean, we do live in times when women
are owning a lot and buying a lot.
Exactly.
But it's interesting that us as women, it's easy for us to have the money. We have the money to buy property, but the man does the buying. Yeah. You know, it could be your joint money. Yeah. But let's say he's the one who followed up the paperwork and all that, and that's where names get left out or didn't put, we will revisit. I just did it this way. I didn't have this.
It's because of this and that and the other.
We'll come back and sort it out later.
Well, like I said, it's a very sticky situation.
Yeah.
But it will get so much stickier if one person drops dead. And the minute someone is dead, it's not even so bad in divorce, by the way. It's bad in divorce. It's so much worse.
It's worse when we're dealing with death.
This person is not there. So the state takes up the role of protecting, what they imagine. Exactly. Yeah. And that becomes very complicated. The more you can uncomplicate it when you're alive, the better.
The better you should. So we should all just make sure our affairs are in order. Yeah. Now I'm wondering, how much longer did you stay in TZ after all this happened? Did you stay?
Yes. Believe it or not, I actually stayed. Maybe I don't know how I can explain this, but let's just say I was working at the time that he died. So I still had a contract. And that was, at that point, my normal.
Yeah.
So I went back to it. Okay. Even though my family obviously did not understand. But I went back. But another reason for me was more, I actually love Tanzania. I love Tanzania as a country.
Wow.
I love Tanzanians as people. I mean, of course, there are differences here and there, but I can tell you,
I can imagine.
Deep down, Tanzanians are wonderful people. I mean, okay, let me rephrase that. There are good people and there are bad people. Even in Kenya, there's good people and there's bad people.
Yeah. But generally, their culture is good. It's a place
I had made very good friends. I still have very good friends.
Yeah.
I loved the country.
Because it's so interesting. You'd imagine if something like that happens, the first thing you want to do is go home. Go home and be with my
But I hadn't been home in 5 years as well.
I would still think I'd come back home.
Yeah? Well, my family thought the same, but not me.
But you're okay.
Yes.
But I think also it's because, like you shared in your other video, you wanted to be alone. Did that help you be able to have your own space where you can process what is happening without feeling like people are too much in your space?
No, on the contrary, because even there I had friends.
Oh, okay.
Who, I had friends there. Someone pointed it out one time, but I don't know if it's really true. And they said I probably held on because all my entire marriage life I was in Tanzania. Okay. So maybe it's as if I was holding a little part of him.
There's something special about Tanzania.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm not sure, honestly. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Those were really, really tough things to deal with.
Yeah.
So let's now go to the other very, very dicey issue. How is it? How do you deal with your in-laws? How is it now? How was it then? Because they're still a part of your life. They're still the grandparents to your children. They're still uncles and aunties and all that. Yeah. So how does that work even now?
So In the beginning, it was very similar to what we had before when he was alive. We had a lot of interactions and a lot of, we met a lot of times. Every time I visited, I would go and visit. But you know how these things work. People process grief in different ways. And sometimes the way you process grief is not the way that I process grief. And sometimes the way that the difference in how we process grief can drive a wedge between people.
Yeah.
So I would say that's normally what would happen between people and their in-laws. And also sometimes, you know, at the end of the day, your in-law is related to you by law.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily by blood.
Yeah.
So eventually, in view of that, sometimes the distance does come in.
Does come back. Yeah. The law has been broken. That was relating.
Exactly. And even ideologies, you know.
Yeah.
With my spouse, because we courted and spent a lot of time together, we had sort of aligned our beliefs, our values, and things like those. But don't forget, he came with his own values from where he came from, and I came with my own. But what I aligned was with him, but not with his people.
The family.
Exactly. Yeah. So sometimes it does get to a point where, you are cordial, but it cannot be what it used to be. Yeah.
Are they involved with the children?
They do. Yeah. They do. They seek out the children, yes.
Okay. That is awesome. The next thing I was thinking about is the whole issue. I've had this a lot, getting like father figures or somebody who can represent a father to your children. And we've been told, you know, that's the kind of advice you hear people being given. And in my head, I'm wondering and thinking, how does that work? Does it even really work? Or is it some of those very nice sounding advice that doesn't quite translate in real life?
Well, in my case, it's the latter. It's a very nice sounding piece of advice that doesn't necessarily work. And I'll tell you why. First of all, even just identifying that father figure is not easing. That's the first thing. Secondly, even if you do identify them, and they're even willing to be father figures, being a father figure is a big thing. It's a big responsibility. Assuming this person has his own family, has his own life and all that, just how much would they be able to give? And especially when children are younger, they might not understand that I see this person every 3 months and that's a father figure. They're not going to get that. So if it happens, if someone comes, it's also not something you can ask someone.
It's also an
It's very tricky. Exactly. So for me, it's one of those things which I let go and let God, and told myself the same God who took the spouse will figure the children out.
He'll bring the right person along if needed.
Exactly.
At the right time.
And it also calls for putting on your big girl pants. If my child needs to ride a bike and that's not in my job description, I will figure it out. If I can't do it myself, I will hire someone to get him to ride a bike and move on. On to the next step. Yeah,
we hear that a lot. Now, how do you feel society treats widows and widowers in terms of now moving on with life, you know, dating, remarriage, all these things? Because I'm thinking life continues.
Well, I personally, I'm not a fan of that statement about society. Because for me, I keep wondering, who is society anyway? Who's written society here so that I say that person?
Society is all of us opinionated humans.
I think in a lot of ways, society are the voices in your head. That is my personal opinion.
That is so true.
The voices in your head. Because you're thinking,
this is what I think they think. And maybe they're not even thinking about
Maybe they're not even there. You know? So I have long since learned to silence the voices in my head. And my one mantra is very simple. Are you wearing my shoes? No. Are you me? No. So I don't care, really. It's not important. But having said that, In terms of maybe even just people inviting you for something, or you know, I might have talked about this in the other video, couple friends, it becomes
tricky.
A little bit tricky because a lot of times people don't know what to tell you. So they don't say anything. And that leaves you thinking, hey, wow. It takes a toll on your self-esteem. Because you tell yourself, if I make people uncomfortable, then I'd rather not go. And so you start feeling like you're out of place. And if you go for, like, people will say, let's go camping or something like that, it's already, you know, the men will put up the tents and that, but you don't have someone. So do the men put up for you? Do they not? And it's so awkward. So you end up either not going, and you eventually end up just making friends with other single parents who are the same as you, and there's no awkward moment.
So are you dating? Have you dated? Is that something you would want to do, or you do?
Yeah, I have dated, and I feel that for me personally, I got to a point where the really rough grieving, where I started feeling stronger, and I started not wanting to carry these negative feelings all the time. And at that point, I remember making the decision to live a full life. In fact, I remember telling myself, the same way he died, there's a reason why God chose him to die before me. So I'm the one who's alive. So first things first, I am a parent. I have been left with 2 children. I will parent with a lot of purpose, and I really parent with purpose. It's the one thing I will do anything for. And then I told myself, I will live a full life. I didn't die. I was 36 years old. For all intents and purposes, I was not, you know.
You're young.
And I don't even know why we think I'm an old person is the one who's supposed to stay alone. How old is old?
How old is old?
You know, if you meet someone in their 90s, they don't feel old. They actually, just feel like themselves.
People will tell you you're old. You feel as young as...
Exactly. So I remember making the decision then that I will live a full life, whatever that will be, but I will live a full life.
Did you ever feel like you need to reach that place where you feel he's released you to live that full life? Do you feel like I'm cheating on him, or I'm being unfaithful to our memory? And then you reach that place of feeling, I'm sure he would be happy for me to be happy.
Oh yeah, those feelings are very real to any widow or widower. Very, very real. Because remember, you've been married to this person. Before the marriage, you were dating this person exclusively. And this is the person, you know. And then all of a sudden, you know, I remember the first times I started venturing out and someone would look at me. My first feeling would be, I would get so offended. I'm a married woman.
Why are you looking at me like that?
You know, don't look at me like that. And I'd go home and go, my God, I'm so lonely. What in the world is going on with me? And that transition is very, very tricky. It can be very tricky. I know widows who never get out of it. They never get out of it. They don't even want to get out of it. And that, you know, to each his own. But yes, those feelings are real. There's guilt. I used to go home sometimes in the evening and have conversations with him. You know, like just sort of talk to him and will him to send me some message of sorts. You know, say something. Situation. Yeah.
So it's just something you deal with the way it comes.
Yeah, you deal with it's a one day at a time thing, and then eventually, you know, it becomes easier. It becomes easier to deal with.
So do you ever reach a place where you truly feel I can laugh? I remember in that video you said there's this time you laughed.
Yes.
In your other video, and you were like, oh my goodness, I laughed.
Yeah. In the beginning, you don't think it will ever happen again. You see people laughing and you wonder what they're laughing about. And it's not that you don't laugh even in grief. You laugh, but it's that laughter. It's a painful laughter. You don't imagine you'll ever laugh for real.
Happy.
That you'll actually go somewhere one day and actually be happy about something, or just have a moment of happiness. You never imagine it can happen. yeah. But also, once you get through, I would say, the initial stages of grief, the later stages of grief are very deliberate. If you're not deliberate, it's not going to happen.
Oh, yeah. You can remain. You can remain in that hole.
You can stay there. Yeah. You can stay there.
So you have to be deliberate about healing and deliberate about moving and about creating life and enjoying
something
life
for yourself. Yeah. About not living in pain, not wallowing in the pain, you know, you have to be deliberate to want to come out of it. Otherwise, you are going to die. We lost a friend that way, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was very, very sad.
Depression and start off another cycle of other crazy things.
And I think that first comes with acceptance that death will happen. It will happen. Even when you didn't see it coming, it will happen. So that when it does, you remember that you knew that it will happen. Yeah. That acceptance is crucial. Yes.
Wow. There's something that you also talked about in the other video that for me was very challenging, and that is the whole issue of making memories.
Oh,
imagine something as simple as that. I felt so challenged because me and those people I don't have a lot of good photos of every season of my life, every season of my child's life.
Yeah.
And it's like you had not premonition, but the way you were making memories, it's like you almost look back and say, it's like I knew.
Yeah. I think I could have done better, but
you would have done better.
I think so.
God help you.
Not in terms of, I think in terms of maybe recording the memories, capturing the memories.
Yeah.
To make the memories, I feel, that was good, but capturing, and for capturing the memories, what I want to challenge you and everybody else is don't even think about death. Even when you're alive, then you want to see those things. You want to see those memories. What I can say has worked for me is scheduling it. Schedule it. So, for example, birthdays, I always interview my children and try and save it on the drive. In fact, my drive is full. So I have to now save on the drive. The Google Drive, the usual Google Drive. Save it on the drive for all the children's emails. Yeah. So I had told myself I'll be doing it every month on the dates that they were born. Yeah, happened once, didn't happen again, life happens. But at least birthdays, that's once a year. Just make sure. It's a little interview. Hey, how old are you now? How do you feel? What are you doing now? Things like those. Those are really important. Really important.
So do you guys sit down and all the videos you had taken, you were talking about videos that you had taken with him. Do you revisit those with the children?
Unfortunately, when
you said you couldn't get
I didn't have a smartphone at the time. He had it. So he took the photos and videos, but I didn't have access. I don't know how to access them on his drive because I don't know how to get through to his email. And so even when my son, for example, at school, they're doing timelines, I don't have a lot of photos of him as a child. And I have to explain it to him. It's not that they didn't take photos.
It's just that.
It's that they were on daddy's phone. Yeah.
And that's not something someone can access?
I think you can. I just don't know how. I tried once. I gave up. Yeah.
It sounds like an IT thing.
Yeah. No, apparently there is a way. They ask some questions. So if you knew him very well, I knew the first question, but I didn't know the second one.
Because I'm iPhones. iPhones are the ones who have these lock systems. If you lose your password, you can't.
So there's a way, but I just never got around to it. Yeah.
But you guys had created a lot of memories of his birthdays, of life back then.
Yeah, I feel very grateful that I had that attitude in my early marriage, because it helps a lot in my grief journey when I feel like I didn't hold back. I really never held back. I'm the kind of person who loves events, and I love birthdays, and I went all out with the birthdays. But even in other things, I want to do this, I just do it. I never ever held back. And I really see the hand of God there, to be honest, because I feel like if I look back now, I can't tell what in me provoked me to do that. Because I could have easily told myself, I'm not going to do too much now. The children are young. I'll do it when they're older.
Birthday when they're older.
Something. But no, the children being young and me being busy didn't stop me. I still feel like I really used to not hold back. I used to go all out. We had our regular date nights, and I feel like that was a really rich thing. And I am extremely grateful that even though we were married such a short time, it was very rich and very purposeful. Because if I had felt even for a minute that I held back, or that I told myself, achana na yeye atajisort, or something like that, then on top of grief, there would be guilt. On top of that, there would be guilt. But now I don't have the guilt part. I now just have the grief part. Yeah.
Wow. I have a little silly surprise for you.
Okay.
As I told you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really lets you know how random capturing of moments can come back, and you can look at them. So,
oh my gosh. Wow.
I have this photo of us in campus.
This is an old photo.
He'll capture it later and we'll put it on screen.
Wow.
And I imagine I didn't even struggle to get this photo.
My
when we were
gosh.
talking, this photo was on my nightstand. In my in the album and all that.
Yeah.
And here we are in campus, we are young, and why are you wearing an always shirt, Kwanza?
My brother-in-law used to work for Procter & Gamble.
I actually asked
So those were the
myself
promotion t-shirts.
Yeah. So this must have been your room.
Yeah, that's my bed.
This is your bed.
Yeah.
So this is the time you came to eat your cookies.
Yeah, one of those. That's beautiful. But look at this. Imagine that. This is just a still photo.
Yeah.
How many memories it comes
a
with.
Moment. And honestly, I don't know who took this photo, why we took this photo.
Idea.
I have no idea. It wasn't a party, it wasn't anything.
No, it was a very random thing.
Yeah.
Very random.
Yet it captures
it captures a feeling. It comes with all these feelings and all these moments, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, look at
it's really
us.
Beautiful.
When we were young.
Oh my God, we were young and beautiful.
We were young and pretty and skinny and tiny.
That's amazing. That's a great surprise. Are you gonna give it to me?
No.
Oh,
man. Of course you can. Okay. You can get a copy.
I feel like I have a copy of this somewhere. Actually, I might have a copy of this somewhere.
This is you. This must have been you. Me seem to have a picture.
I don't know. I don't remember. That's beautiful.
I remembered it. Imagine.
Yeah,
and I decided to just
beautiful.
check, and I just went through the album. It was right there, and I was like, "Wow, amazing!"
Yeah. Capture the memories. That's
capture
the
the memories.
Capture the memories. It's good to make the memories, but capture it.
Capture them.
Yeah.
And you
capture it. You never know.
You never know. And you will revisit them, and they show you how far you've come.
Exactly.
Yeah. So as we come to the end of this, I just would like you to maybe take a moment. What would you tell? What advice would you give us? Maybe those of us who maybe are alive and all that. How do we prepare ourselves? What advice would you give somebody who has lost? It could be a spouse. It could be someone else who they are just feeling this thing is just so heavy on me. I don't know how to get out of it and all that. Yeah. What advice would you give?
Well, the first speech I gave after he died, my very first speech, I'll just go back to it. Because at that point, that was my rawest moment of grief. And that was probably the biggest feeling I hold today. Death does not belong to us. Death happens when it happens. Nobody knows. But life belongs to us. This moment, this one is yours. This one you can do whatever you want to do with it. Maximize this moment, whether it's a good one, whether it's a serious one, whether it's a somber one, whether it's a pitch you're making, whether it's a business idea you're having, whether it's a conversation you're having with an old friend, whether it's a parenting thing you're doing, a moment you're having with your spouse, with your child, with your parent, whoever you're having it with, that moment is yours. You make the choice what to do with that moment. The next moment is not guaranteed, but this one is. This one is right here. No one can take this moment away from you. Maximize it. That is all I can say. Every other thing is blah, blah, blah. Maximize the moment. Yeah.
What about to that person who is like in this situation? They've lost somebody. Maybe they are still, they haven't gotten over it and all that.
If you're a widow, That was me a few years ago, especially the fresh ones. 3 months out, 6 months out, 3 years out, whatever stage you're at. I think the advice I would like to say here is it's a one day at a time thing. You don't have to figure it all out in one day. Give yourself grace, a lot of it. When you don't know what to do nothing. Don't worry. Something has happened to you. Something bad has happened to you. It's not your fault. There is nothing you could have done. There is nothing you could have done to stop it. It has happened. It has happened. You don't have to figure it out in one day. Take your time. Take your time. Go slow. Do what you need to do. But it's a one day at a time thing. Breathe. Sometimes it's a 1 hour at a time thing. 1 minute at a time thing. Just go slow on yourself. You got this. You will figure it out. Yeah.
Are there support systems and support places that guys can go through? I'm assuming there are groups and everything like that, you know? Like online?
I'm not saying this with authority, but I think churches in Kenya, I'm not saying it with authority, I don't know for sure, but I think they have programs for widows and widowers. In Tanzania, we didn't have.
I don't think we're doing well as well here in Kenya.
I don't know for sure. In Tanzania, we didn't have. But we had, I got into a lot of online groups, Facebook, where widows, you know, they will say things that you will really relate with. And I was lucky to come across a friend of mine who we were in high school together, and I didn't even know that she had been widowed, who really, really held my hand. Yeah, really held my hand. It helped a lot.
So it's important to seek help and seek support?
I think it's important to seek help. No matter how strong you think you are, this is not an easy thing. This is really not an easy thing. So what help you seek is up to you. How much of it you seek is up to you. How often is also up to you, because you have to listen to yourself. You have the feelings come from inside, and at the end of the day, you have to do the work. Yeah, but if you feel you need to get help, get it. If you go to a certain group and they're giving help that you don't think is helping you, leave them. Get different help. You know, it's about you. It's self-preservation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because one thing I've found in life is we want help, but we want other people to see that we need help. And sometimes we're even upset if they don't. You guys can't see that I'm in need. But you, in many situations in life, you realize people can't tell that you are, or what the exact need is. Sometimes you just need to be, I don't know, it's different situations. You're humble enough to say, I need help, or help me in this way, or that kind of thing. Yeah, where you're the one who seeks out a bit of that help, because maybe the people around you don't know how to help.
If you are the one in that situation and you need help and you can get it, ask for help for sure. But if it is your loved one in that situation and they're really your loved one, like they're close to you, seek them out as well. Say, I'm here if you need help, and mean it. But keep checking on them, even if they don't say anything. Say, I'm still here.
I'm still here. Whenever you're ready,
whatever help you need,
I'm here.
And if they're not saying anything, suggest, do you want me to do this? Do you want me to bring this? If they don't want, respect them, but, you know, offer it.
Well, I think that is very, very important, because sometimes it can get confusing for everybody. And when people don't know what to do, as you said, they do nothing. They pull away, and then you feel like you're left alone. Yeah. Wow. Cathy, I know this was not an easy one. This is a tough one. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for opening up. I'm sure there's someone out there who has just learned, you know, something. And I think we have to get into this place where we talk these things, we talk about these things, and we highlight these things and deal with these things, because we never know.
That won't happen because you talked about it. Don't forget that. It will happen because it was supposed to happen.
It was supposed to happen. So don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to plan. To plan and make sure your affairs are in order, thinking that if I start planning, maybe I'm thinking I'm going to die. Because you know that thing is happening even to people who are 90, 100. They're still dying and there's no plan. And then there's a lot of confusion and all that. So plan and know that it's important to plan. Asante sana. Guys, as I said, she has a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is I'm Every Woman. I'm Every Woman. We'll put the link down below. You can watch the story that she shared, and it will give you so many details about this same story. And they also have a lot of other videos covering dating and everything, the whole 9 yards about every woman.
That's
about
true.
Every woman.
That's true.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed hanging out with you. We should do this again.
Thank you for having me.
And deal with other issues in life.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you very much, guys, for watching. This is Irene, and this is Hairy Lifestyle. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and turn on your notifications. Share this video if you know anyone who is in this situation or who would benefit from this content. Please make sure that you share it. Asante sana for hanging out with me. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.